Everyone in the NFL is talented, that we do know, but some players can show off their traits and gifts without doing any football moves or drills. Their presence alone means someone who's never watched the sport before could sit back, look at a television screen, and go, damn, that guy's different. And to be frank, I mean, people are more skilled than ever, but the things you can't teach will never be unimpressive to the naked eye. These athletes flaunt these abilities every single game, hell, even every play, and us fans are all better for it. They are absolute freaks of nature, all for different reasons, and in this video we're going to look at what makes each of them freaks of nature. Our first freak of nature is Josh Allen. With other quarterbacks focus on elusiveness in their scrambling, Allen's running ability is even more intimidating because of how powerful it is. I mean, at 6'5" and 237 pounds, a designed quarterback run with Josh Allen is one of the most dangerous and reliable moves in football. He's able to generate incredible power and momentum at the points of attack, dragging defenders with him for a dozen yards as they make any sort of attempt to tackle him, and he's almost unstoppable in the red zone because of it.
Has time, throws to the corner, brought down by Matt Collins. It in, pitched it back to Allen, who's going to go to the goal line.
And now, yes, Allen has been criticized for turning the ball over a considerable amount earlier in his career, but this season he has only thrown 5 interceptions, which is a career low for him. He's only had one other season where he's finished with less than 10 and is coming off a career high of 18 in 2023, which meant a bounce back was needed. When Allen gives Buffalo all of the upside without the turnovers, there's absolutely nothing that he can't do. And now look, he's not just a gadget guy though either. When he's throwing the ball accurately, he's doing it with quick strikes with his powerful arm that can cut through strong winds like a hot knife through butter. Plus, he has the absolute power to deliver 60-yard bombs, meaning no part of the field is off limits. In 2023, he led the NFL with 44 touchdowns, with 29 in the air and 15 on the ground, and he's finished top 2 in total touchdowns in every year of his career since 2020. And no matter how much tape is out there on him, he is a sheer power that can't be stopped. Now, sticking with runners at the quarterback position though, Lamar Jackson might be the best we ever will see. He's as scary on his legs as Allen, but for different reasons, boasting as much speed, agility, and twitchiness as any running back or wide receiver in the NFL, including the ones on this list. He can get several feet of separation with his vicious spin moves and can break people's ankles in the red zone. I mean, frankly, he can avoid many of the NFL's best tacklers without even breaking a sweat, and even has a lethal stiff arm.
Right there. Jackson a first down, accelerates, shooting down the side.
There is Jackson, and Jackson is going to go deep, and the pass.
And early on in Lamar Jackson's career, despite just how exceptional he had been and how explosive he was, people were still doubting him at his capabilities to throw the ball at an elite level. Crazy as it sounds, many believe that he should have considered switching his position to running back, and while he has had some struggles throwing even in his MVP campaign in 2019, Jackson has made slow improvements and is currently second in the NFL in passing yards behind division rival Joe Burrow. I mean, hell, even in those 2 matchups against Burrow this season, Jackson has thrown for 638 yards, 8 touchdown passes, and no interceptions. Jackson's dual threat ability makes him one of the most electrifying and respected athletes on the planet, and he's pulled it off without ever having a wide receiver on his team make the Pro Bowl. Like, imagine this, if Lamar Jackson had the wide receiving core of, I don't know, Sam Darnold or Joe Burrow. Like, I mean, despite all of that still, he is still completely just so hard to prepare for. He has a 23-2 record against NFC teams, largely because there's no one like him, and his uniqueness makes him an almost impossible challenge for defensive coordinators. Our next freak of nature though is Saquon Barkley, and I mean, we've all seen the videos of him squatting over 525 pounds, right? Like, he's got the arms and more notably the quads to put just about anything over his shoulders, delivering as a pound-for-pound superhuman at Penn State, New York, and Philadelphia. All he really needs is for one defender to miss his tackle, and the rest is history. Barkley has been dominating the league this season, leading in both carries and rushing yards, hoisting his name into the MVP conversation. And now, I mean, look, we already knew how incredible Saquon Barkley was, but when you add in the fact that he's playing behind probably one of the top 5 offensive lines in the NFL in Philadelphia, of course he's going to make the most of just those wide open running alleys. He has elite speed at 6 foot and 233 pounds with quick hands, making him a threat to catch the ball in open space and becoming impossible to bring down once he gets those quads turning. Alongside Jalen Hurts, the two have become one of the most intimidating intimidating run-pass option threats we've ever seen in the NFL in quite some time. With both players just being so muscular, front sevens have to fatigue themselves just to prevent explosive plays. On his own, Barkley can shift, decelerate, spin, juke, and hurdle like a running back who weighs 50 pounds lighter than him. The things that he's able to do with a body that looks like that too are just absolutely insane. Next up, we have Myles Garrett. Let's be honest, you only have to have seen one of his topless interviews to know that he is a freak of nature. Since being taken by the Cleveland Browns with the first overall pick in the 2017 NFL Draft, Myles Garrett has been one of the most unstoppable forces in all of football. His impact on the game can be measured very simply. Since getting to Cleveland, they're 4-11 when Garrett doesn't play. That is a kind of record you'd expect from a star quarterback or even an elite receiver. That record shouldn't surprise you though, as just Garrett does this week in and week out of just manhandling offensive tackles.
Disaster for the Titans as they come up empty. Minshew from his end zone. Here comes Garrett. Football's loose.
The dude is so big and ferocious at 6'4", 272 pounds that it's seemingly impossible to scheme him out of sacking the quarterback. Last season when he won Defensive Player of the Year, he had the second highest pass rush win rate in the NFL, only behind Dallas Cowboy Micah Parsons. Garrett racked up 14 sacks that season, which is even more impressive when you consider how often he was even double or even triple teamed. He's been respected as one of the best players for years now, and while the Browns organization has had some ups and downs in his time there, his dominance and sheer ability to take over a game have been a standing consistent. And at 28 years old too, I doubt he's going to stop anytime soon. Speaking of dominance though, Derrick Henry is the next person we have to mention. Honestly, there are unique physical specimens everywhere in the NFL, but none of them create a very specific kind of comparison for just one position. Every single time we go into a draft and we see a running back that's a little bit taller or maybe a little bit wider at the shoulders, we always see the name Derrick Henry kind of thrown around. But honestly, the reason we never can compare prospects to Derrick Henry is because, simply put, no one can be King Henry. At 6'2", 247 pounds, which I don't believe at all, the dude has got to be walking around at 260 pounds, he doesn't look like the average running back. The dude is built more or less like a running back and more like a linebacker who shouldn't be able to move at the swiftness and downhill speed as he does, but his natural ability makes him arguably the most terrifying downhill runner in the history of football. Since 2018, he has 7,028 rushing yards, the second most in the NFL during that time.
Racing for the hole and more. Derrick Henry with a
even at 30 years of age, at a time when running backs usually start to diminish so quickly, he's been able to hit top speeds of 21.7 miles per hour. In fact, since being drafted, he's hit 20 miles an hour on more football carries than any other player besides Tyreek Hill. That's worthy of discussion for any running back, but having the conversation at that size and age is something so unnatural. There's got to be a phrase for that, and oh yeah, it's why we made the video. Just a complete freak of nature. Are you looking for a new book this football season? BetUS is the answer. They have the fastest and easiest payouts in the industry, along with 24/7 personalized service 365 days a year. Not only that, but they have live wagering on all major games, so if you see something mid-game and want to make a wager on it, you can. And the best part is you get 10% back on your net losses twice a year. And now look, you guys knew I had to come through with you guys for a promo code, so make sure that you guys are using code YouTube150 for a nice 150% deposit bonus on up to $2,000. That's right, we were doing 125%, but we said screw that, we're giving you guys 150% instead. Again, that is promo code YouTube150 for a 150% deposit bonus on up to $2,000. Again, thank you to BetUS for sponsoring today's video, but for now, let's hop back into it. Now, the first wide receiver freak of nature we are going to speak about is DK Metcalf. Metcalf has plenty of speed, but not in the form that you'd think. Metcalf is arguably the most unique blend of power, size, and speed the sport of football has to offer. He has the body of an overly muscular tight end or a slimmer defensive end, but at the wide receiver position, and nobody does look like him that plays wide receiver. His body would make him hard to tackle even if he was just normal speed, but his blazing feet make him a matchup nightmare for any man covering him on a go route. With the benefit of hindsight, it's kind of wild to see too that the NFL let a package like DK Metcalf fall to the second round, and it should come as no surprise that he's been making huge plays for the Seahawks. When Metcalf ran an eye-catching 4.33 time in the 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine, people thought he should have been a lock for the first round, but he just kept falling and falling and falling all the way down to the 64th selection in the back of the second round, which is a steal to say the least. Since being drafted, Metcalf Metcalf has been as consistent as he's been excellent. He's grabbed at least 900 yards every year of his career and is well on pace to continue that streak in 2024. He's had 2 different starting quarterbacks in his time with Seattle and will continue to be a key for that offense no matter who is under center. And speaking of speed, there is a lot more of it in our next freak of nature. Tyreek Hill is one of the fastest players in NFL history, an undoubted field tilter. Whenever he's standing on one side of the hash marks, everyone's attention shifts no matter whether you're in a man or zone assignment. He burns defenders on go routes, has the twitchiness to make guys fall sideways in the open field, and is elusive enough to be an absolute nightmare on bubble screens. He's so quick and intimidating that they literally make plays for guys that are just freaks of nature like him.
Launches down the middle, Hill, open, caught.
Now with the Dolphins though, quarterback Tua Tagovailoa can deliver accurate strikes to Hill in the open field and let him do the rest. Last year, Hill won the NFL receiving yards title with 1,799 yards to go along with his 13 touchdowns. Even just his presence on the field creates a wide open look for his speedy teammates like Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane, making him a cornerstone of Miami's explosive offensive identity. And don't worry, we're not going to forget about the tight end position because the NFL draft is producing elite tight ends left and right, but George Kittle remains one of the best ever. And now, yes, I'm sure that there are more uniquely gifted athletes at the position than ever before, and many teams are scraping to find one as a cornerstone of their offense. George Kittle is still one of the most dominant forces at the position at 31 years old. Not only is he just a fantastic receiver at the position, by far and away, I'd probably call him the greatest or at least one of the best blocking tight ends of all time. And that's something that we'll know forever. He may not be the dominant yards after catch force that he was 5 years ago, but it still takes several guys to bring him down when he has the ball in open space. He's always been able to run every route in the book like a high-end wide receiver, but it's not just his ability that makes him so valuable to the San Francisco 49ers. Now with a few more notches in his belt, he always knows exactly what to do on the field and is able to execute his assignments perfectly, transforming him from a fun offensive player into a perfect piece for Kyle Shanahan's complex offense. As he's gotten older, he's become a leader on this team too, as he's always represented the 49ers brand with pride and has been a model personality, almost like an ambassador. When Brock Purdy was getting criticized for being a system quarterback, Kittle came to his defense as a great teammate does and friend, and honestly, that's just somebody you would want in your corner at all times. And now, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry because you know I had to include Patrick Mahomes on this list. And I know, typically the best player in football doesn't need much to be said about them to understand why they're so great, but Mahomes is more than just a great quarterback. He's a force of nature, almost acting as an instrument of fear for an opponent that greatly influences how to game plan. The offense doesn't even have to be humming for Mahomes to show off just how great he is. Look at this season. Kansas City is in the middle of the pack offense at 24 points per game, but he continues to deliver clutch plays on third down in the fourth quarter when it matters most, operating with a sense of inevitability that strikes fear into opposing defenders and coaches. And of course, while he may not be the most agile, athletic, or strong of a runner as the others on this list, he can move as effortlessly as anyone to avoid pressure and pick up key downs. His receiver core this year wasn't very impressive to begin with, but then declined even further as he lost key pieces like Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown. Even then, Mahomes has still been able to use his field reading skills and quick movements to find receivers in tight windows. The only thing that is missing has been the deep bomb to Xavier Worthy. Honestly, if he can figure that out, then the three-peat might just be inevitable. His all-around ability, complemented by his clutch instincts in high-leverage moments, makes him one of the most unstoppable forces with the football in his hands. And let's put it this way. He isn't a 3-time Super Bowl champion just by accident. Our final freak of nature, though, is TJ Watt, who actually might be unblockable. And now, yes, I know you've heard many of your friends' favorite defensive players be called that before, but Watt might bring that fantasy to life. It takes a lot for a defensive player to literally pop off the screen and be your main focus when watching a game, but Watt's presence on the field can be felt by everyone. Offensive coordinators have to put tight ends on the line of scrimmage for blocking just to give offensive tackles a chance to not be impacted at best and humiliated at worst. On top of that, running backs with option routes who can chip the edge have to run to the flat late because of how much effort it takes to prevent Watt from running someone over. When it comes to sacks too, he holds the record for the most in a season after grabbing 23.5 in 2020. 21. This year, he leads the NFL in forced fumbles at 5, driving to the quarterback and knocking the ball out of his hands with apparent ease, also adding a useful 9.5 sacks. I mean, no matter how you try to stop Watt, he's going to find a way to make the line of scrimmage his playground and has the physical ability to single-handedly impact the Steelers' chances to win every single game. If you want to see 7 times that Josh Allen did the absolutely unthinkable, then click this video right here.